and Recreation Commission to order for Wednesday, July 27th, 2016. If you'd all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Ms. Blackman, would you call roll, please?
Chair Wiscombe.
Here.
Commissioner Longstreet.
Here.
Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Martinez-Cohen. Commissioner Cavazos and Commissioner Lesnar-Buxton are both absent.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'd like to welcome Andrea Martinez-Cohen to the commission, and it's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, changes to the agenda, Mr. Hanna?
Sure. Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, we'd propose that we postpone agenda item number 8 and move it to the August meeting, and that's the only change for this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Written communications, I don't think we have any. Public comment, is anyone here to speak on an item you're speaking on a specific item, but I don't see anyone else here that's to speak on an item that's not on our agenda, so we'll close public comment. Youth Council report, we don't have anyone represented from the Youth Council, right? So we'll move on to Commissioner Committee assignment reports. We'll start with Ms. Longstreet.
I don't have anything to report this month.
Okay. Ms. Clark? No? Okay. I attended the Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting, and Mr. Downey reported that there were 3 new enforcement cases. So there are 6 open cases, and one is almost, the mitigation was almost complete, and that'll be closed shortly. I also attended the Golf Advisory Committee meeting, and it was basically a welcome meeting to introduce the staff of Courseco to the Golf Advisory Committee, and it was a nice meeting. And I think if you have a chance to get to the golf course to welcome the new staff from Courseco, it would be nice. For fiscal year 2016, the golf course ended $119,000 below its budget. So, and that's all I have. So we'll move on. Commission and staff communications.
Sure. Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, I'm excited to be here tonight. We have a new addition to our supervisor team in Parks and Recreation. I've asked Tim Downey, Urban Forest Superintendent, to come up and make the introduction to the Commission.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, I'm pleased to announce that we've filled the Street Tree Supervisor position with a gentleman who came to us from the city of Ventura, Nathan Slack. He is a Board Master Certified Arborist. He has tree risk assessment qualifications with the International Society of Arboriculture and has a degree in forestry. And I just welcome him to come up and invite you to ask questions if you have them.
Great. Welcome, Mr. Slack. Come on up. Are you gonna go to the desk or here? Here. Okay, it's on. Yep, the mic's on. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything or?
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, I'd just like to, tell you how excited I am to be a part of the city of Santa Barbara, and specifically the Parks and Recreation Department. The Urban Forestry Program has an incredibly rich and diverse history, and I'm super excited to be part of the team and participate in a lot of the great contributions that they make to the community.
Great, thank you. And we love our trees. Yes. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Slack?
Just welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Downey. Ceremonial items.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, we just have one to report tonight. Kathy Fry, our Associate Planner with the Project Management Team, received her 10-year service pin. And we just want to recognize Kathy and all the great work that she does for our Parks Division on the project management team. And that's it for this evening.
Great. Thank you very much. And congratulations to Kathy. She was here last month, I think, wasn't she? Yeah. Right. Okay. We're moving on to consent items. Agenda item number 1 is summary of council actions, which are in your packet. Mr. Hanna, did you have anything to add on that? If not, does any one of my fellow commissioners have questions on that? Okay, then we'll move on to agenda item number 2, which is the minutes from the regular meeting on Wednesday, June 22nd, 2016.
I move approval of the minutes of June 22nd.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to agenda item number 3, which is Street Tree Advisory Committee items. Any action of the Parks and Recreation Commission made pursuant to the Santa Barbara Municipal Code, Chapter 15.20, tree planting and maintenance, or the Municipal Code, Chapter 15.24, preservation of trees, may be appealed to City Council within 10 days pursuant to the provisions of Section 1.30.050 of the Municipal Code. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 3A1, which is 1405 Harbor View Drive. Mr. Downey.
Chair Wiscom and Commissioners, the Public Works Engineering Division is proposing a sidewalk infill project at this location and a crosswalk leading across to Municipal Tennis Center. The north side of the road along Old Coast Highway has no existing sidewalks in this location. The Public Works Department will need to take out quite a bit of vegetation in order to create a 5-foot sidewalk and a 2-foot parkway in this situation. There are 2 street trees along this section that they will need to remove for the project. This Monterey pine, the sidewalk would bisect the trunk, so it would be necessitated to be removed for the project if it moves forward. The yucca is a little farther back, but would still be impacted by the proposed sidewalk at that location. The committee looked at these trees and they determined that it's an important piece to guide people to the Municipal Tennis Center, and that it was a reasonable development of these properties, and their recommendation is to approve the removals. This project is going to happen in 2 phases. One phase is going about halfway down to Salinas, and the second phase will continue on down from there. So the committee has asked that an item be placed on their agenda to co-designate a street tree that can fit into the smaller parkways than the current designated tree can fit. So you'll see that item come up later in your agenda. So just to summarize, for the reasons that this project would destabilize the tree, the committee recommends that the trees be approved for removal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Downey. We don't have any public comment on this item, so I'll open it up to the commission for any questions and or a motion. Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hit the green, the button.
Hit the Nicole should. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So you're saying the project for the sidewalk is going to be in 2 phases, and it is going to continue eventually all the way from, I believe, Harborview down to Salinas Street? And they're only doing part of the sidewalk in this phase, is that right?
Yeah, Chair Wiscom, Commissioner Martinez-Cohen, that's correct. They're doing the first phase goes from Harborview about halfway down to Salinas. Another phase, which would require them to move a electrical pole and some other items, would be done at a future date when they come up with more funding for the project.
Okay, that was my next question. Do you know the future date? Okay, I just wanted to clarify, because I thought it was interesting that only part of a sidewalk was going to be put in, and then it's going to end again. I live in the area, and I walk around there a lot, And I think this is a great project. I just was curious about the sidewalk not being contiguous and how that would work. It just sounds confusing.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioner Martinez-Cohen. So this is a project that is connected or tied to the municipal playground improvements that we're proposing at the municipal tennis facility. And so it's my understanding that the Public Works Department has the funding at this time to complete that portion of the project, and then within this coming fiscal year, complete the second half. So although they're in two different phases, I believe they'll run concurrently.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay.
Okay.
Just pull it toward, yeah, that's great. Yeah, when you talk, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else?
I'd be happy to make a motion
Sure.
for the approval. I know this project is really important. It's been before NAC. It's part of access for the east side all the way up to Coast Village Road, and having the flashing light there is really important. So I move that we approve the Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation to remove the Monterey Pine and the giant yucca at 1405 Harbor View Drive.
Is your motion conditioned like the Stack's motion that the Public Works works with Park staff to develop larger plannable space?
Yes.
Okay,
It's-
thank you. Okay, do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item 3B1, which is 2203 Chapala Street.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, at 2203 Chapala Street on the Los Olivos side of the property is a street tree planted there. It's a liquid amber. American sweet gum is the common name. The tree has a seed pod on it that has it's essentially about a golf ball size with spiky points on it. They're not sharp per se, but if somebody were to walk barefoot on them, they would feel it. The applicant is requesting that the tree be allowed to be removed because of those spiky seed pods that fall. They create issues with their ability to clean them up, and their lawnmower has issues with it, and they're concerned about the pedestrian safety in relation to that. The committee looked at the situation. They asked staff to take a look at whether the tree could be pruned to improve the seed drop. We will plan to do that if the commission doesn't approve the removal. The committee felt that the reasons supplied by the applicant are insufficient justification for removal of the tree. So the recommendation is to deny the removal.
Okay, thank you. And we don't have any speakers on this item, so it's back to the commission for any questions and/or a motion.
I had a question also on this one. It looks like it's obstructing the power lines from this photograph here and the one that was provided with the application. Is there any concern about that more than the little seeds that it drops? I think that looks concerning.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioner Martinez-Cohen, the power line, Southern California Edison has a mandate from the Public Utilities Commission, as well as the telephone companies and the cable companies, to maintain the safety of their lines. Southern California Edison does that by actually pruning trees away from those lines because they're higher voltage than the other lines. The other lines are considered very low voltage, and they're designed in such a way so that they're meant to be within the context of the trees. They're designed so that they, knowing that the trees are going to be around them, there's structures that they build within them that if a tree were to fall or a branch break, they actually have a mechanism where the wire will give a little bit, but the tree won't actually knock the wire off in most cases. So that's the way that those utility companies protect the lower voltage lines, by designing them in a way so that they can exist within the tree. So in this particular case, there's no concern that any of the lines are threatened at this point.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you for the information.
Anyone else? Would anyone like to make a motion? Ms. Clark?
I'll make a motion that the commission agrees with the findings of the STAT committee and denies the removal of the liquid amber at 2203 Chapala Street.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. We're on to item 3C1, and we do have Mr. Collins, the property owner, is here to speak on that item. So what we'll do, Mr. Downey will give his presentation, and then we'll open it up to the commission for any questions only, not comments, just questions. And then, Mr. Collins, you can come up, and we give you 2 minutes at the podium to state your case, and then it's back to the commission. Okay? Mr. Downey, so this is 302 Alston Road.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, that 302 Alston Road is a cook pine that leans towards the home. The home is to the south. A natural habit of this tree is to lean to the south. It's natural for this tree. So the lean in itself isn't a concern for us. At some point in the past, the tree lost the top out of the tree. The whole top fell out of the tree, and new tops have grown out of the top since then. When these kinds of injuries occur on a tree, the branches that grow back are not held on as strongly to the tree as the original branches were. So they're more susceptible to breakage than the original branch if they're not carefully maintained. This one has, I don't recall if it's 3 or 4 different heads on it, which is too many for this type of tree. This type of tree is used to having one head on it. So the concern is a couple of different things. The applicant expressed concern that it leans towards the home, that it lost that previous head, and he's concerned that more branches could drop onto his home and his driveway, and that it could compromise the wall. That is he's got a raised planter there, and a wall separates his driveway from this planter. So it's somewhat of a retaining wall for the planter. So he's concerned for all of those items. The committee looked at the tree, and they concurred that it's pretty likely that some of those heads could come out of the tree. The applicant is proposing to replace the tree. So the committee felt that would be a benefit to the community and safety mitigation for a tree that could possibly cause harm to him or his home. So the committee recommends that you approve the removal on the condition that the applicant replaces within 1 year's time a tree that can achieve the height of, I believe it was 30 feet or 25 feet. I'm sorry, I don't recall what.
25.
25, thank you. So the recommendation is approved on the condition that the applicant within 1 year replaces with a tree that can achieve the height of 25 feet.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Downey. Does anyone have any questions on this item? Okay, Mr. Collins, would you like to come up and to the podium?
Thank you. I'm actually reluctant to jinx what was previously said. And there are some concerns. Our main concern is exactly what was expressed before. The top of the tree fell off, probably the top, 10 feet or so, fell into our driveway, happened to fall on a visitor's car, not one of ours, but a visitor's car. It's pretty embarrassing, and did a significant amount of damage. I mean, I hate to say, we don't have any photos of it, but I can remember it quite well. I think that's a natural disaster. I certainly don't want it to fall on somebody's car, and we have a lot of grandchildren who live nearby, and Lord protect us, I don't want it to fall on any of them. So we would like to take the tree down primarily for a safety reason. We do intend to replace it, virtually immediately with something more appropriately sized and that won't present that danger.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. That closes public comment on that, and we'll bring it back to the commission for any discussion and/or a motion. Ms. Longstreet?
I'd make a motion. I concur. I move that we concur with the Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation for 302 Alston Road for the removal of the cook pine and replacement with a tree of 25 feet that can achieve 25 feet within the year.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and...
Chair Wiscombe, just for clarification, replace with a tree within 1 year that can achieve a height of 25 feet,
Yes.
not
Oh.
be 25 feet within 1 year. I just want to be clear.
Okay, I thought, I knew what you meant, so.
That'd be a big tree immediately.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and with no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay, we're moving on to item 3D1, which is 916 East Ortega Street. Mr. Downey.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, at 916 East Ortega Street, there are 2 palms and a raised planter. The queen palm, the taller of the 2, is causing damage to the planter walls, and it's starting to buckle the walls. The smaller Howie palm we don't believe is contributing to that. The homeowner is concerned about the trees falling on their home because it's damaging the planter. There's also concern that the gas line runs directly beneath these trees. I had a discussion with the property owner about the nature of palm roots. Palm roots are very fibrous and numerous, but they don't typically push on structures like the gas line. They simply would grow around it. They don't get bigger after they've grown. They stay the same size, and so it isn't really a threat to the gas line. The committee did, however, think that the queen palm was a little too close to the edge of the planter, and its base will get bigger as more roots develop, because the only place roots can grow is farther out. So it will continue to damage that wall planter. This property is a little unique in that the entire frontage is covered in hardscape because there are 2 driveway entrances at this location, and it pretty much takes up the entire length of the property. The committee looked at that, and they wanted to see some sort of mitigation for the loss of the 1 tree that they're proposing. So they were proposing that the 1 queen palm be approved for removal on the condition the applicant replace it with at least 1 street tree. The committee noted that to the west of this, there is a vacant lot that has empty parkway there that applicant could plant a street tree. As many of you are aware, the city has, during the drought declaration, declared that we're not planting street trees during the drought declaration except under very special circumstances. But the committee was insistent, and their recommendation is to approve the removal of the queen palm only on the condition they plant at least 1 street tree in the immediate area, feasibly to the west of this location. Staff, because of the drought declaration and the fact that it's a vacant lot which isn't occupied, and the fact that it isn't actually in front of this particular home, for those 3 reasons, staff doesn't support the requirement of a replacement street tree. The other issue is we don't typically allow mitigation of private tree removals to be mitigated by planting street trees. It's uncommon that when we do that. So for those 4 reasons, staff doesn't support the condition to provide a replacement street tree. So the committee's recommendation is to remove the queen palm on the condition they plant at least one tree in the parkway to the west. Staff's recommendation is that you approve the removal of the queen palm without the requirement of a replacement tree.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Downey. We don't have any speakers on this item, so it's to the commission for any questions, discussion, and a motion.
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Longstreet.
On the application, the applicant checked yes, and that they would replace the tree with a fruit tree once the planter was removed. How does that fit with the gas line and other things you've told us?
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioner Longstreet, there is space to the west of the westward driveway that trees could be planted. Their thought, which wasn't illustrated very well in their letter, was that they would remove this planter and just fill it in as a hardscape, and the fruit tree would be planted to the west of the driveway. There certainly can proceed with that. When the committee was on site, the gentleman came out and actually said that he had cultivated some of the baby palm trees that have grown up and put them in pots, and he was actually considering putting the palm trees over in that west planter. So, staff feels that that's certainly reasonable replacement for this queen palm.
Anyone else? Would anyone like to make a motion? Yes.
I move that we concur with the removal of the queen palm at 916 East Ortega. And no mitigation.
So you're going with staff's recommendation?
Staff's recommendation.
Yeah, okay. I'll second that.
Chair
Okay.
Wiscombe, one more thing. I
Yes.
apologize. I forgot to mention this. The committee's recommendation and staff's is also to recommend the commission deny the removal of the Howie palm.
Okay. Would you add that?
I would add that to my motion that we deny the removal of the Howey palm.
And I'll second that amendment to the motion. So, okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. That carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Downey. Okay. Now, agenda item number 4 is the annual advisory committee reports. These are generally for the benefit of our new commissioner, one of our new commissioners. The other one isn't here today. These are in our packet for our reading pleasure, and if you have any questions on any of them, you're welcome to bring them up, but it's nothing that we go through here at the meeting. So does anyone have any questions on the annual advisory committee reports? No. Okay. Seeing as that, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is Dig for Gold. Mr. Hanna.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, something fun to put on your calendars. So included in your packet is an upcoming fundraising event, Dig for Gold. It's scheduled as a way to start raising some funds for the future Cabrillo Pavilion and Bathhouse renovation, primarily as a way to start re-engaging with the recreation users that consider the Cabrillo Bathhouse and Pavilion facility as kind of the anchor for recreation in that area, whether it's ocean swimming, beach volleyball, camps, and so forth. A lot of the project to date has been focused on planning and historic features of the building and getting through some very critical hurdles to this point. And now we're going to be changing this work effort to really start re-engaging with stakeholders that use the facility for recreation purposes and designing how those services will play out both immediately and in the future. So the Dig for Gold event is our first of many fundraisers, I would imagine. It's scheduled to be Wednesday, August 17th at the Cabrillo Pavilion at the upper level. It was decided to coincide with the Rio Olympic women's beach volleyball medal matches, and our fingers are crossed, obviously, for Team USA being in there. The event will start at 5 p.m. It's an adult reception for the first hour. While that's going on, we're actually going to have some high-level beach volleyball taking place immediately in the sand in front of the Cabrillo Pavilion right there, so away from our volleyball court traditional area. The $25 ticket fee gets people in with a free hosted bar, hors d'oeuvres, and everything else. The matches start at 6 p.m. I think what's unique is we've reached out and we've secured a 10 by 16 LED video wall. So you can imagine it's actually quite significantly larger than the screen we have in the commission chambers right now. And so the matches will start at 6 p.m. and the event will conclude somewhere around 8:30 p.m. And so we've included in your packet, I would like to invite the commissioners that can attend. There's more information on our website if people would like to go to the Santa Barbara Parks and Recreation.com website, and they can click on there for links to the tickets or more information about fundraising activities.
Great, thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments? Sounds like a fun evening. Go Team USA. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Thank you, Mr.
Who's
Hanna.
playing down front?
So for the event, or Chair Wiscombe and Commissioner Longstreet, so we're working with John Lee to come up with some of his former athletes. I cannot commit that it would be a former Olympian. I believe he has other endeavors, but one of the other unique features is John Lee, who's really just started with the beach volleyball pro circuit as an announcer, runs a lot of our beach volleyball programs, and Kathy Gregory will be in attendance, and she's essentially the queen of beach volleyball, kind of kicked it off when it first became a professional sport. They'll be there doing some color commentary throughout the commercial breaks, and we're going to leave that to the commercial breaks color commentary. But as we get the players that are scheduled to play, I'll provide that to the commission in an email.
Anyone else? Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Hanna. Okay, agenda item number 6, which is the Creeks Education and Outreach Program update.
So, Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, I've asked Liz Smith, our Creeks Outreach Coordinator, to do this presentation.
Welcome, Ms. Smith.
Thank you.
Hear me the first time.
So I'm Liz Smith. I'm the Creeks Outreach Coordinator, and I'm here to give you an update on the Creeks Division's education and outreach efforts. So I'm going to, tell you a little bit about various components of our programs, including youth education, community events, advertising, community-based social marketing, our online presence, and then our outreach around our various projects and programs. So our youth watershed education is primarily done through Explore Ecology. We have a contract with them, and we have a goal to reach, we have a goal to reach at least 3,000 students a year. And this is a free program that's open to any schools in the city of Santa Barbara, and transportation is included. They are taken on field trips to local creeks and to the Watershed Resource Center, which is where this photo is. And also in-class presentations are provided for the students. We partner with the very popular Parks and Recreation Nature Camp when we're able to. This summer, scheduling didn't quite work out, but we hope to get involved again next summer. And we are also available to give presentations to any other school groups upon their request. We participate in many events around the community each year, including the Earth Day Festival, Looking Good Santa Barbara, which is a city trash and recycling event, the Harbor and Seafood Festival. Last year, we participated in Science Pub with the Museum of Natural History. So here's our Water Quality Research Coordinator, Jill Murray, giving a great presentation. And again, if there are other events happening in the community and they'd like us to come and present or provide information, we're happy to do that as well. Coming up in September, we have our 17th annual Creek Week celebration, which kicks off on the 17th with Coastal Cleanup Day. And we usually have in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 events throughout the week. So that includes creek and beach cleanups, restoration events, various tours. So there's a lot of fun things going on. And you can learn more about that at sbcreekweek.com. Or follow us at facebook.com/sbcreekweek. And we also print the full schedule in the Independent the week prior to the event. We work with many volunteers throughout the year, including local schools, private businesses, churches, sailors on the visiting ships, and we're also working on getting a new creek crew off the ground, which is a monthly service event. So doing a variety of cleanups and storm drain marking events, plantings, probably more plantings when the drought conditions ease a bit. And then we also administer the California Coastal Commission's Adopt a Beach program in the city of Santa Barbara. So our current beach adopters include Channel Keeper, Urban Creeks Council, Right Scale, Starbucks, and U.S. Coast Guard. And during the calendar year 2015, you can see that they pulled almost 4,000 pounds of trash from the beaches. So they're a great service to our community. We do a lot of paid advertising. We work closely with City TV to produce great television ads. We even won a regional Emmy Award a few years ago, so that was pretty exciting for us. And hopefully some of these images are familiar to you. We run the ads on various Cox Media stations in English and Spanish, also on Univision, KEYT. And this photo at the bottom was just last month. We're out shooting a new campaign around a superhero called Creekman. So look for Creekman to show up on TV in the next month or so here. And we also run ads on the radio on various local stations. Our print advertising, we run a lot of ads throughout the year in The Independent, Food and Home, Casa Magazine, which is now called Voice Magazine, and the city's water billing insert, which goes out to over 25,000 city water customers. So that's a great way for us to get the message out to the community. And also we have the only billboards available in Santa Barbara is the side of the MTD bus. So we have Creekman, this ad down below, on the side of several buses right now during the summer months. And then we will have new interior ads also featuring Creekman on the full fleet of buses very soon. We just last year piloted a new community-based social marketing campaign called Close the Poop Loop. Maybe you saw this. And this is aimed at getting dog owners to pick up after their dogs and make sure the bag made it into the trash can. And community-based social marketing is a little different from our traditional outreach, which is, so the traditional outreach is really about awareness, and of course we want people to take action to protect our water quality. But with a CBSM campaign like this, we want to be able to measure that behavior change. So, and this was a countywide campaign. We hired a consultant, they put the campaign together, they went out to Arroyo Burro Beach and a kind of a problem area in each of the other jurisdictions in the county, and counted how many unattended pet wastes were there. Then we ran the campaign for a few months. We asked people to visit the website, sign a pledge to pick up after their dog. We had a little incentive, little goodie that we mailed out to them. And people were very into the campaign. They loved the images. They signed the pledge. And then after those few months, we went back and counted the pet waste again. And so in the city at Arroyo Burro, we had a little drop in the numbers, which is great. Mixed results in the other jurisdictions. So at this point, we're looking at how to move forward and expand the campaign, but we hope to do that very soon. Our online presence, we have, of course, our website, sbcreeks.com. You can also get to it just at the city's website, santabarbaraca.gov/creeks. We have a great deal of information there about our various projects and programs. We send out a monthly email newsletter to over 850 subscribers. And we also have the ability to include information in the City News in Brief, which is a weekly newsletter that the city administrator sends out. And that goes to 1,200 subscribers plus all city employees. So we definitely put information in there when we have pertinent info. We've also do some online advertising on local sites like EdHat, KEYT, The Independent. So we're always looking at new ways to reach people via the internet, since that's the way things are going. We also have a good social media presence on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So I invite anyone who's active on those sites to please follow us, like us, talk to us on social media. So Pick It Up SB is a social media-based photo campaign we've been working on. And it's focused on litter. And what we ask the community to do is when you see litter in the street, on the beach, anywhere, take a picture, then pick up the trash and throw it in the trash can, and then post your photo tagged with Pick It Up SB. And we have fun T-shirts and hats that we can give away to participants in that program. Just another way to get the community involved and engaged. So when we have our larger creek restoration and water quality improvement programs, or projects rather, we do a lot of outreach around those, including many community meetings and presentations. We add the information to our website and try to keep that up to date with what's happening. We post many photos and project updates on our social media sites. We often send postcards to the neighbors of a particular project, send out press releases. We have a few time-lapse cameras so that we can put those out to film the whole project happening and then watch it in a few minutes. We also work with City TV again to produce segments for Inside Santa Barbara, which is their bi-monthly television magazine program. And then we like to hold ribbon-cutting ceremonies like this one here at Oak Park. And then once the projects are complete, we install interpretive signage to kind of explain the project and what it's about. And then we have various programs like our Clean Creeks business programs, our pollution enforcement, and our Creek Tree program. And for these programs, we often do Inside Santa Barbara segments again. They're listed on our website. We post updates on social media. And we have information at all of the community events that we attend. And we also have mailings and print materials. And I would like to add that our print materials, all of our brochures and informational pieces are also available on our website. And so with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Smith. That's a great presentation. Anyone have any questions or comments?
I would just say your outreach has gotten so much more sophisticated over the years. It's great to see the evolution.
Thank you so much.
For the Pick It Up SB campaign, do you want pictures of the street with the trash before or after or in the trash, or what were you
Thank
thinking?
you, Chair Wiscombe and Commissioner Clark. Any of the above, all of the above, whatever you'd like to do. So we'd just be happy to get people participating and helping clean up our community. So
I think you wanted both steps, right? Picture of it sitting there and then picture of your hand or something putting it in the trash, yeah, which is probably the most effective way. Yeah. Anyone else? I agree with Commissioner Longstreet. The outreach methods that you use are really remarkable. I think they're just great. It's a little disappointed to read about Close the Poop Loop. That I can't imagine dog owners not picking up their dog's poop now. So I hope that you do find ways to make that program a greater success. And we look forward to seeing more of Creek Man. Mm-hmm. And who is he?
Thank you, Chair Wiscombe. It's a hired actor at this point. We couldn't get Cameron into the costume, so
We're trying to guess which one of the staff it was this time in the ad.
It kind of looked like Paul Casey, but I couldn't really tell. No, I'm teasing. So that's great. Okay, thank you very much. That's wonderful. Okay, agenda item number 7, the Westside Boys and Girls Club annual report. Ms. McCaffrey is here.
Did you want me to start?
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners. My name is Judith McCaffrey, Recreation Manager, and I'm here this afternoon to introduce the next item on the agenda. Before we receive our presentation on the Westside Boys and Girls Club, I'd like to give you and the public just a brief background. In 1964, the city entered into a 50-year lease at $1 per year with the Westside Boys Club of Santa Barbara, which allowed the club to develop the property and build a facility within the confines of what is now known as Bonet Park. The facility itself was completed in 1967, and since that time has served Westside youth, first as a Westside Boys Club, and now as the Westside Boys and Girls Club. In May of 2015, the Parks and Recreation Department renegotiated a new 3-year lease agreement with the United Boys and Girls Club, located at 602 West Anapamu Street. Similar to our other department lease agreements, the United Boys and Girls Club must submit an annual report at the end of each fiscal year. The contents of the annual report are detailed in the lease and intend to show progress in various areas, including programs, financial, and operational sustainability. You've all received a copy of the written annual report. And today I'd like to welcome Chief Executive Officer Michael Baker and the Director of the Westside Club, Priscilla Hernandez, who will give you this afternoon's presentation.
Great, thank you. Welcome.
Thank
Mr.
you very
Baker.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you for that introduction. Sorry to interrupt you in the beginning there. My name is Michael Baker. I'm the CEO for United Boys and Girls Clubs here in Santa Barbara County. I've been here now for about 19 months. And just to give you an overview, we've got several slides we'll go through. Priscilla's going to talk more about some programmatic. I'll talk about more 30,000-foot view level issues as well. United Boys and Girls Clubs, we actually operate not only the Westside facility here in Santa Barbara, but we have clubs in Carpinteria, Lompoc, Goleta, and UCSB campus at Campus Point. Our overall organization, the whole concept behind United is that we know that there's strength in numbers. And during tough economic times, it's a lot easier for us to balance our books when we're all working together. So United Boys and Girls, as you mentioned, from a financial standpoint, we can go to the next slide. These are some of the things that we're going to go through. But the mission statement of Boys and Girls Club to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens. Now, the reason I highlight and underscore, especially those who need us most, is we are really intentional about going out of our way to find those kids that need the Boys and Girls Club the most. And we'll talk a little more about that when we get to our outreach aspect. Next slide, please. You can see here the growth of the organization over the last year. This is as of December 31 each year. So as of December 31, 2014, December 31, 2015, the budget's grown by almost $500,000. We actually had, at the end of December 2014, we had $770,000 in debt as an organization. I'm happy to report to you even better than that. That was as of December 31, 2015. We were $200,000 in debt. Yesterday, we paid off everything. We are completely debt-free as an organization. We are actually now operating in the black. Yeah, there you go. I'd like the round of applause. Our membership is up, average daily attendance is up, and the largest fundraiser, everything's going up for the organization. Next slide, please. Okay, so one of the questions that comes up is how can, it should be a longer slide than this. There you go. Okay. You can see when you get to the next slide, actually, it shows the net revenue for the organization, negative $138,000. How can that be? How can you run an organization? Well, that's the concept of United. None of our organizations, none of them, Lompoc, Goleta, Westside, Santa Barbara, Carpinteria, generate a profit. None of them. They all cost money. And in order for us to make us balance our books, we have our United office, which is our administrative office, which writes grants, does fundraisers. Not only do we cover the cost of administration of the organization, but we cover the shortfall of the local clubs as well. So that's why you're seeing that's actually what it costs. If the Westside Club had to operate completely on its own and didn't have United office to backfill, it would lose $138,000 operating the way it is right now. Okay, so that's how that's operating right now. Next slide, please. Budget breakdown. Again, I just went over that, so I want to get too much in detail because I want to give more time for Priscilla to talk about program. But from a fundraising standpoint, we are raising more money than we raised before. Our board members, which you have listed in your packet as well, we have a very active board. I know that in the past there's been some concerns and issues over management of the Westside Club. I can tell you right now, those of you that haven't been there, you need to come down and take a look at it again because it's a whole new ballgame. We're serving more kids more often with more impact. And the real reason for that is sitting in that chair right there, and that's Priscilla Hernandez, who's running that club every day. Next slide. Again, from a Boys and Girls Club perspective, one of the challenges that any organization has is you want to have a well-diversified funding portfolio. Rather than relying solely on grants or solely on individual giving or solely on special events, you want to have a well-diversified plan that's going to raise money for the organization. Prior, we didn't have a well-diversified funding plan. We're much better shape now where it's about a third, which will get us through tough economic times should they come again. Again, general support, just specifically for the Westside Club. I was told that you wanted to see the grants that were specific for that site. Those are listed up there as well, and they're in your book. All those were written on behalf of the Westside Club by the United office. Again, I don't see our Westside Club or our Carpinteria Club or our Lompoc or our Goleta Club as different. They're all part of our organization. They're all treated the same, and the support that they get from our administrative office is exactly the same. Actually, if we could go back, if we could. What you see on the bottom there is the Westside Kitchen Project. That's an exciting project that we've been working on for many years. Actually, we're very close to raising all the necessary funds to make that happen. So that's we're hopefully gonna break. I don't literally have to break ground because we're just putting up the walls. That will be happening later this year, early next year. Next slide, please. In our outreach program, I'll lay the foundation for this, and I'll have Priscilla talk a little bit about this some more. But the outreach program is a concept that I brought here. Again, I've worked with Boys and Girls Clubs for almost 28 years. It's been my whole career. The child that can get to the Boys and Girls Club because mom or dad drop them off, or they can walk, or they ride their bike, those are the easy kids to reach, and we do a great job of serving those kids. What we weren't doing a good job of reaching those kids who can't get to the Boys and Girls Club but desperately need it. And we've created many collaborative partnerships that you see in your book, but you'll see as well when Priscilla goes through it, that have allowed us to reach more kids that need our services the most. Kids that are coming from very challenging circumstances, and utilizing our transportation to go pick those children up for free and bring them to the Boys and Girls Club and bring them home in the evening. Again, we do all that at no additional cost to the member. Next slide, please. Sorry, if we can go back one more. I'm sorry, one more part of that. And I'm going to call Priscilla up at this point to talk about recess programming and how that program works. Priscilla.
Thank you for having us, and came straight from the club. As Mike says, he has motivated us, and I think it challenged us when I came to the Boys and Girls Club, and he started as well, to get more exposure for the organization and the Westside Club. You know the challenges we have faced, and it's been a very, I think, constructive learning experience for myself and as well as the community. I started about 2 years ago, and we had half the population that we have now attending the club. So we've doubled since then, and we are still growing. We have increased through outreach by going to local housing facilities through the Housing Authority to pick up kids from their homes to bring them to the school. We currently also pick up children from different locations throughout Santa Barbara. We have a pickup on Ortega and Coda. We also do Bath and Arriaga. We also pick up children from Transition House who cannot afford transportation. As Mike says, we've done this at no charge to them at all. In addition to that, we do provide transportation during the school year for kids to get to the club whose parents work and cannot have access to that. But we've made tremendous strides in trying to make sure that the kids have some resource to get to our site. Recess programming, as Mike says, is something that the club did not do before. We currently have about 6 feeder schools to the club, and we never thought about going out to the club and doing outreach on site. With Mike, he's challenged us to go out there and do structured activities with the children at no cost to the school. So what we do is we have a staff who's either trained in physical activity, go out and provide maybe a jump rope class, maybe soccer, maybe just simple kickball during the recesses. So we reach about, I would say at certain schools we can reach about 60 to 100, 150 kids within an hour to an hour and a half a day if we go out daily. We currently go out to 2 schools, which are Santa Barbara Academy once a week and Harding School as well. With Harding School, we're going to actually increase a little bit more this school year to help develop more structured activities on a daily basis, not just the one day that we go out there, by doing some training for their parents who are currently volunteers for their children, as well as training for their staff who maybe don't have the background in activity and can work with kids when we are not there to help with activity, but also it helps correct behavior problems too. So we will be expanding this year to do that, but also include 2 more schools so that way we can get up to 4 schools this year. So slowly by surely we are adding on more of a reach to the community to get more information and access to the school, to the club. I think that really does for physical activity. One of the things that I am really big on with the members at the club is that they are exposed to as many opportunities as possible. I'm very fortunate that I come from a similar background, although not from Santa Barbara, Central Valley, so we're more agriculture. the kids probably wouldn't know where their produce came from, but I make sure that they understand that. We try to expose them to things like golf. So this is their second year of doing golf during the summer. They do it normally during their break, their academic breaks. During the summer, they have a little bit more intensive activity. So every week is a themed sports week at the club, in addition to their academic programs as well. And this is a couple of their first time actually trying to go to a driving range, and they love it. My background is tennis, so they also have a week of tennis. Currently, right now, we have 12 kids with the Santa Barbara tennis patrons who are doing tennis all week for 2 hours straight, and they love it. This is, again, the second year that we partnered. Last year, we had 5 kids. This year, we have 12, and as every year goes, we will be growing and growing. And the kids will be learning and also continuing on if they really like it, and if the patrons see there's more of an interest, then we'll work on one-on-one skill development with scholarships. So those are partnerships that we've developed over the year with the Santa Barbara Golf Course, Santa Barbara tennis patrons. Again, those are more physical activities. We have many more in the academic fields and other social and enrichment opportunities. We've exposed them to their field trips this year were fun, but also learning opportunities. For instance, they went to the California Space Museum, so they would learn about, it's a beautiful facility in Los Angeles. They also do the Museum of Natural History, the Art Museum here as well. They'll go to the Botanical Garden. So we do. We just try to supplement the opportunities a little bit more. We had an opportunity to go to the Flying Museum in Santa Monica, which was very hands-on, first time for these kids. They loved it. And so, again, we've exposed them and just starting to increase our reach for the kids. What's that? Oh, next slide. So briefly, on our programming at the club, we have raised the bar for the children to really develop a more structured program. Kids work on rotations from their tutoring time, which is a power hour, which is helping the children on homework, reading. Last year we actually had wonderful volunteers from World Dance for Humanity come that were retired teachers. So the kids had exposure to the retired teachers, college students, to get more assistance with their homework. This year we'll be adding a reading module with the mobile reading program that used to be the Watershed Reading Clinic, if you didn't know about it, through the Santa Barbara School District. So we're actually going to be absorbing that and having it at the school for TK through 4th grade. So that's going to be a huge addition. Many of our kids are below grade level right now, so they're slowly increasing. It's been a big change for them. Our physical activity opportunities are daily for the kids. I'm a true believer if they're feeling good, they're healthy, they do much more better in academics. So they all get a 45-minute activity of triple play, which is sports and athletics. Again, we also include athletics with our programs, and those are currently basketball and soccer at this time. We are looking to introduce other sports like volleyball as well. But the kids have been exposed to things like tennis, swimming, golf, basketball, and volleyball, in addition to many other things. Sparks is a new program that we're also introducing to our programs. We've had training for staff to learn about how to not just teach physical activity, but the social opportunities that it provides the kids to learn about, being a good sport, being fair, how do you work together? So that's a huge implementation that's going to happen this year. Go ahead.
So one of the things that we emphasize with all of our clubs is the importance to work with other groups. And not every answer can be solved by the Boys and Girls Clubs. There's a lot of groups out there doing great things. This is a list of all the organizations that we've partnered with this year. It's pretty large amount of groups. There's two that I want to highlight in particular. If we can go to the next slide. First one is actually collaboration with the Santa Barbara Unified School District. That's the mobile cafe. Now, we have 97% of our students at our club, Westside Club, are on free reduced lunch at schools. That means when they go to school, they get breakfast and they get lunch served to them. Summertime, there's no school, there's no breakfast, there's no lunch. So we partnered with the school district. We get this mobile cafe that comes to the Boys and Girls Club every single day. In the summertime, serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner for free for the children. Saturdays, it's Cummings providing lunch. During the school year, we get dinners provided for the kids and lunch on Saturdays. So again, that's a tremendous, costs us nothing, just another partnership that we developed with the Santa Barbara Unified School District. Next slide. Housing Authority donated 2 brand new vans to the Boys and Girls Clubs that we're using for our organization to help us with outreach and making sure that we can reach more kids more often with more impact. And we also were successful in securing one of their staff members to be on our board, our community council, Frank Casada. Next slide. Santa Barbara Police Department, one of the requirements is that we are to dedicate space in that building. And to be honest with you, that's been the one challenge that we've had. We've had the space dedicated. I just think with the transition in the police department and everything that's been happening, they haven't been able to get there as often as they would like to, but the space has been there. It's been there all along. So we've done what we needed to do. I think it's really on what's going to happen next with the police department. Impact by the numbers, you can just see that. That's in your the enrollment, 442 members of the youth served. That's the recess program, 198 different kids that have been impacted through that. 117 new members this year. And average daily attendance on Saturday is about 27 kids. And then we know that that number is going to go up. I'm not worried about that. If we can go next slide. Demographics. There's just the basics on our ages of our members. You can see that. That's in your, 81% of our members are Hispanic. Next slide. Club 105. This is, and you see a council member, Frank Hotchkiss, in that photo. All those children in that photo there, we found out that 105 days is the magic number in Boys and Girls Clubs. If you can get a child to come 105 days in a calendar year, they're twice as likely to graduate high school on time. We know that from all of our clubs across the country. Those children were members of our silver card ceremony, which is actually kids that have attended the club at least 52 times, the halfway point. That was the ceremony for there. We have not done the gold card. Well, actually, we did the gold card ceremony here as well, but there's 37 members of Club 105 already for the Westside Club. Those kids have already gone 105 days. There's nothing more powerful to say the impact the Boys and Girls Club is having is by having more kids come more often. Kids vote with their feet, and they are coming to the Boys and Girls Club more than they have before. Next slide. Again, just ways people can help if you want to get involved. Obviously, we can always use committee members for our community council and the volunteers, and just become a positive advocate for the Boys and Girls Clubs. And then our final slides. Next slide. Thank you, and that's our contact information. If you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baker and Ms. Hernandez. That was just a great presentation. Anyone have questions or comments? Ms. Longstreet, did you?
Yeah, well, just a comment. I worked out of that facility 10 years ago for 4 years. I worked for PAL. And it is tremendous to see this turnaround and the energy and the organization coming in. I think Ms. Hernandez has done a tremendous job, and you've done an excellent job in backing up your staff and also presenting. I watch City Council probably more than I should, and I see you coming in with a positive attitude and giving good publicity. Our neighborhood over on the west side doesn't always get the best publicity, and our kids need a lot. And so I'm very thankful for what you've done, and I think it's tremendous, and I support you in all of your future outreach endeavors. The more kids, the better. It's nice to see a facility back up and running. And I will agree with you about the police department. We just had a presentation the other night, and yes, they just don't have the people. So it would be nice to see the kids have some relationship building with the PD at your facility, but I think it'll come in time as we get staffed up. So thank you so much for the turnaround in the club and serving our kids.
Well, thank you for the positive comments, and it definitely will get turned around as far as with the police department. I have no doubt that that's going to happen. But the credit really, and I appreciate you giving me credit for that as well, but really the credit does lie with Priscilla and the staff. They're the ones working with these kids every day. It's easy for me to come up with ideas. Say, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? That's easy to do. The hard thing is actually doing it. So they've done the hard work, and they're really where the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
I just had a couple questions, just trying to learn a little bit more about it. You had mentioned 27 was your average attendance per day.
On Saturdays.
Okay, what's your goal, or what's the capacity?
The total capacity, that's a good question. Do we even know the total capacity of the building? I think if you went with a 20-to-1 ratio, which we try to keep it around 12-to-1 ratio, but if you went with a 20-to-1 ratio, that building, I would say, could handle 200 kids.
Oh, wow.
Well, you have a very big gymnasium. There's a lot more space there than it looks when you drive by
Yeah.
inside. It's actually second floors in the building. I would encourage you, if you haven't been there, we need to get you on a tour so you can see it. It's a lot more space than you would think. So I would say we could handle 200 kids.
Oh, wow.
And what's the max you've had? You've had 100 and...
115 right now.
Yeah, but the highest days you've been less...
Like 120, 125.
Yeah. But it's not about, our thing is about having impact.
Right.
We could have 200 kids in there, and you're just supervising children rather than interacting, making sure you're making a difference in their lives. I'd rather have that than have 200 kids and you're just herding cats is all you're doing.
What about the recess program? You did mention there's 2 more schools that you're adding. I just was curious which schools those are. McKinley and Adams. Okay.
Again, that's something I really want to emphasize that's important.
Yeah.
We go to the schools and provide the recess program, your structured program, and we don't charge the schools a dime. We pay our staff to go do that because we believe in the partnership with the schools, how important that is. And if you talk to the principals of any one of those schools, I guarantee you that they're going to say it's an absolute blessing to have the Boys and Girls Clubs coming and doing that for us, because one of the things a lot of people don't know is, from the Parks and Rec Department, this is what alarmed me and why we do this program, and I've done it my whole career, is the acceptable ratio on a playground at a school. Do any of you know what it is? The state mandate? 175 to 1. Okay? That's a fact. It's 175 to 1 on a public school playground. And we wonder why there's issues with bullying. Okay, that's a problem. And we need to do what we can to try to help out. And I'm not blaming the schools. It's not the schools' fault. They're strapped. They're doing everything they can do. But we need to do what we can to reach out and help those schools and make sure the kids are safe and structured. But it's also a recruitment tool for Boys and Girls Clubs. They're more apt to come to the Boys and Girls Club because they know somebody there. So they see them every day at the school.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't realized, what kids actually do at recess. I just had a little baby, so I'm going to be there soon. But I didn't realize that it was such a high ratio and that there weren't already other things being done like that at schools. So it really makes a lot of sense.
Well, there are schools that have more structured activities than others.
Okay.
There are some that are able to have more recess aids than others do. We just believe that the more help we can have with the schools, where we can help with that. I mean, that's our forte. Recreational activities. That's what we do. We do it really well. So why not have our staff go and partner with the school and help the school out? It is a reciprocal relationship because the schools are referring kids to the Boys and Girls Club. They know these kids are falling between the cracks. They said, look, go to the Boys and Girls Club. They help you with your homework. Make sure to keep you on track.
But, the thing is, who funds those extra services at the schools are the PTAs. And the schools, our most impacted schools on the east and the west side, are the ones that have the most trouble raising funds for PE teachers. And those are all extras now.
Yep. The days of gym every day are gone.
Yeah, in my day,
Library
they had it. So I
all
was
gone.
just curious.
That doesn't exist anymore. It's all
Okay.
gone.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Mark, did you have anything? Yeah.
I just wanted to say that, again, I echo BB's comments. Thank you for the work you're doing. I was really impressed that you kept those 13 to 18-year-olds. I know you only had 76 of them. The fact that you can get any teenagers into your facility and into your programming is mind-boggling to me, being the mother of a teenager.
Well, we have, and I'm the father of a teenager too. Actually, 2 teenagers now. We have a teenage daughter, which, that's a whole different ballgame. But she's going to be a nun. I've made that decision, so I'm happy about that. I'm really happy about that decision. So anyways, no. What we've been able to do is, our overall goal as an organization is we want to reach 400 teens in the county and get them actively engaged in the Boys and Girls Club. We're well on our way. We're over 300. We're over 300 teens right now. I think we just broke 300, and we still have 6 months to go, 5 in the calendar year. But you're right; that's a very hard demographic to get, and what makes all the difference in the world, are the staff. If you have the right people in the right place, doing the right thing, and that's, again, credit lies right there. You want to know why those teens are coming? It's right there. It's not because of me. I don't work with them. I love the teens. I think they're great, but I'm not working with them every day. Priscilla and her staff are, so they're the reason that's happening.
I echo my fellow commissioners. You're just doing a great job, and the new partnerships and the collaborative efforts are really terrific. It's pretty exciting. I noticed in your report to Ms. Zachary that you mentioned the City of Santa Barbara staff that's been important in a lot of the things that you've accomplished. So I'd just like to acknowledge staff. And I think that's really great. I was really pleased to hear that you're almost there on your kitchen funds. That's really, so your letter is like, oh, you have some updates to your letter, and hopefully you'll get that community policing presence at some point. But thank you for all you do. I did have one question. Have you actually partnered with Creeks that just gave a presentation here to teach the kids about water?
We are,
Could you come up and, yeah.
Brenda from Explore Ecology to come in and help us develop our garden a little bit more, because that's one of the things that's very difficult to do is sustain a garden. So we are working through Explore Ecology through. And they're familiar with creeks. We haven't actually done something formal, but that through Explore Ecology will be also part of the programs, because we have the creek right there near us.
Yes.
So,
well, that's why I asked the question. It's kind of a natural site.
Absolutely.
And Liz Smith, who runs the Creeks programs, the outreach programs, said, we're happy to go anywhere and present anything and work with people. So I
Absolutely.
just think that might be a really good fit for you based on your location. And,
we've looked at that when we met with Explore Ecology on what else we need to expose the kids to. So that'll probably be part of our programming when we for the fall.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you both very much for coming and the presentation, and thank you, Ms. McCaffrey, for your part and all that you do. It's great. So it's great to see the success stories happening. Okay, we are postponing agenda item number 8 until August. And so we're on to agenda item number 9, which is the annual election of chair and vice chair for the period of August 1st, 2016 through July 30, 2017. And I've been here for 6 years, and I'm going to nominate Ms. Longstreet as chair and Ms. Clark as vice chair. And do I have a second to my motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and we have any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Chair Wiscombe for she's been doing this for 6 long years, and thank her for her leadership and all, and I know she'll be here to support all of us through the next year.
Thank you. And I just have one final little bit, and that is to thank Tisha Blackman for her work here and for coming to our meetings and being very diligent about making sure we all get what we need. And we're going to miss you. It's thank you for all that you've done, and you're going to be a loss to the city.
Well, thank you. And I've really enjoyed working here and hearing everything, learning so much about the community. I mean, you guys all do a great service, and the department does such a great job. So I've enjoyed learning.
Great. Thank you. Okay. With no further business, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.